In the other third,
Here's
the
the
better
other-
third right
The
there.
other third.
Here you are.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, my beautiful.
Good morning, friends.
We are getting started right here, right now, and I've just got to throw some things from one social media source to another, so bear with me just a second while I figure this thing out.
Happy Mother's Day
Happy
to
Mother's
all the
Day.
mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day.
Indeed.
Recognizing also that this day might be hard for some of you.
Not.
So recognizing that as well, that while you
Right.
may be celebrating motherhood, there are those who wish they could be celebrating motherhood. There are those who have lost a mother. And so today is not always a happy day for some.
And
So,
there are those for whom celebrating Mother's Day, there's no joy in it whatsoever
right,
because of their relationship with their mother.
right. But
Yay, happiness.
we recognize today mothers, and that is actually, I believe, what we are going to talk about, is it not?
Yes, yeah, mother.
What?
I don't know, I
We're
just
going
like
to talk about mothers and motherhood.
we're going to talk about mothers.
Yeah,
Indeed.
yes.
Because here's the question, and I posed this to Jamie earlier in the week. Should Mother's Day be an official church celebration? It's not. It's not, actually. I'm
Right.
not sure if people are aware of that or not.
Oh, they may not be. There is no actual church holiday,
Correct.
church celebration day, church feast day
Correct.
for motherhood.
It is not a feast day. There are in the church calendar a variety of days described in a variety of ways. There are major feasts and principal feasts, and there are fasts, which means going without. Feast is celebration, right? We
Yep,
got that?
yep.
And there are movable feasts and fixed feasts and all these things, and it's very, very interesting. I mean, I think everybody should spend at least one semester in graduate school studying the church calendar because you would be enthralled by it. But the gist of all that is to say there are only two national holidays that are on the church calendar in America. Only two.
What are they?
What are they? Anybody care to guess?
Comment along if you know the two national holidays celebrated by the church.
That's right, that are on the church calendar.
Comment along. I bet there are a few watching who.
Who would hazard a guess?
I bet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You want to hazard a guess?
No.
No? All right.
I have not spent a semester studying the liturgics of
You're not.
the church calendar.
No.
No,
It's pretty exciting.
I haven't.
So now that
I hope that I get to.
No, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Being
So-
in an interdenominational seminary.
Yes, with no great appreciation of the church calendar.
Well, no, that's not true.
Those people.
We have many discussions about church calendars and liturgy. We
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, on holy days when they should not be having class because of the church calendar. But
Hey,
anyways.
we have Memorial Day off.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Not Good Friday, but Memorial Day. Beautiful. Wonderful. So, in the church year, the two national holidays in the Episcopal Church, the Anglican Church anyways, that are also on the church calendar are July the 4th, Independence Day.
I had a feeling because there used to be July 4th celebrations at some churches. They had some July 4th music and
indeed.
patriotic music.
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Church and
it?
state.
Right. Well, I mean, our foundation.
The Episcopal Foundation for
absolutely.
sure. Whoa! We could get into, we could veer off the road and talk about that this morning
very
instead
quickly.
of Mother's Day.
Very
But
quickly.
let's talk about Mother's
The
Day.
second one would be Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Well, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there are no specific liturgies provided for those special days. They're not that significant in the life of the church. They are feast days, though, and it's appropriate
Yes.
to have worship on those days and to commemorate those days. Obviously, freedom.
Yes.
That's a pretty good deal, and giving thanks. Also very Christian.
Christ came that we would be free.
Yeah.
Yes.
You bet. You know what's not on the church calendar? Mother's Day. No Mother's Day celebration in the church calendar.
And what
I
did
looked
you
it up. I mean, I'm looking at
What
it right
did you
here.
say earlier? What did you say about Mother's Day and why it's not on the church calendar? I just want to put this
mothers
out there
are
for
awesome,
everyone to enjoy
and they're so
this morning.
beautiful.
I want everyone to enjoy
And
this.
they usually smell good. And
Go
they're
ahead.
soft.
Go ahead, because it's
A totally made up holiday that was created by card manufacturers to sell their product.
awesome.
The florists and Hallmark got together, created a holiday,
You made-
and pitched it to America, and we sucked it up like a bunch of saps, and now all we're doing is increasing revenue for people who don't really care about moms, because if they really cared about moms, they would let them rest. What does a mother really want?
So-
She wants to be left alone. She's tired of being pawed upon, like so many puppies pawing at their mother trying to eat.
I like
No,
how
no,
you're
just give her
continuing the
rest.
conversation
Just give her some
right
rest.
through the made up holiday. I like how you're just, so you can email him,
Yeah.
not me, because
Wow.
I was like, oh, a made up holiday.
Yeah, and
Oh,
and to further that, I did a little research this morning.
I did too.
Oh,
I did too.
uh-oh. And pray tell, my darling wife.
Well, okay.
What did your research tell you?
So here is my thought about perhaps a card company came up with the idea to celebrate mothers.
No, they didn't.
Oh, so you were wrong.
I was totally wrong.
Okay, well, even if they did,
Sure.
we oftentimes get something practical from the world as an invitation from God to celebrate
Okay.
and to recognize his work in that thing. And so as I thought about, should the church celebrate mothers? I thought about Christ's work on the cross.
Okay.
And Julian of Norwich,
Yeah, yeah.
who's a saint and a mystic, and she's wonderful and I love her.
Probably not a mother, though.
No, however, she did recognize the work of Christ on the cross as a symbol of motherhood. So his body broke, he bled on the cross, and it is through a broken body and blood that a mother bears a child and brings new life into the world. And so we can see motherhood as a very Christ-like endeavor.
Absolutely. It's
Sacrifice,
sacrifice all over
suffering,
the place. Yeah.
so much sacrifice and so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
suffering. And oftentimes, as I've kind of thought this weekend, oftentimes people, sometimes it goes unrecognized.
Sure.
Sometimes it goes unidentified and unrecognized. And I've been invited to think about how have I not recognized the sacrifice and suffering of Christ in my life, which brings me full circle into my walk with Christ and my walk as a mother,
Yeah.
and recognizing my own mothers,
Right.
my own mother and the other women. My mother gave me life and gave me birth, but there are some other women who have also shaped me
Sure.
and formed me. And so we can recognize the work of motherhood as a Christ-like endeavor. And so do I think the church should celebrate it? Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
What do y'all think?
Wow. Okay. So you kind of laid out your whole argument there instead of giving me even a chance to start. All right. And
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh.
As a mother,
Man.
go ahead.
Y'all understand this is an uphill battle for me, all right, from the get-go. First of all, I want to say that I fully support creating mothers as a husband, and I.
So if God did not want us to celebrate motherhood, why would he have created motherhood? We could have come into this world any possible way, but he created motherhood.
Well, that creates a whole other philosophical argument about miracles and the nature of creation, and I would argue that no, in fact, that God's choice of developing a world through higher mammals requires motherhood, and so that we couldn't actually just be protoplasm that would subdivide into two new creatures, because that's not the way God ordered the universe.
Right. He requires motherhood.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? Eve ate the apple. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh,
I'm going to say
Adam was right there with her.
Eve
He was
ate the
right
apple.
there with her. If he was supposed to be such a strong leader, why didn't he say something? Eve, let's not eat that apple. He didn't. He sat there silent. And then he partook willingly of the apple. So, no, sir.
First of all, the scriptures.
Little energy around that. Got a little energy around that.
The scriptures don't say that Adam didn't say anything. I think perhaps maybe Adam tried to intervene and was ignored. Not that that ever happens. And I think he only ate the apple to keep the peace, because if Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Goodness gracious. Well, that's terrible leadership then. Terrible leadership.
I don't agree with anything that I just said. Absolutely not even a little bit. I am fully in agreement with Jamie on this. I'm just trying to argue for the fun of it.
He just wants to see me get passionate this morning. He just wants to see me enlivened for you.
It's fun, isn't it? I mean, come on, don't you guys do this? So here's the deal. I would say that Mother's Day should not be on the church calendar. Not, however, because we shouldn't celebrate and glorify motherhood. Your point about connecting motherhood to Christ and the cross and crucifixion, I think, is beautiful. And especially what Julie said.
Julian of Norwich.
Julie, whatever.
Her friends probably called her Julie.
They probably called her Jules, is what I'm thinking.
Jules.
They were like, Jules, what's up? You've been talking to Jesus? And she's like, yeah, he just showed up at my house.
Except that she didn't really talk to people. Because she was sequestered by herself.
She's a little different.
Yeah.
Jules was, I think.
She sat in a little room off of a church.
She was in Hermitage.
When she was off of a church. She was, in a little room off of a church.
Anyways,
by
so
herself.
I think that her understanding of those two things, Jesus on the cross and giving birth, that's a really beautiful and powerful image. However, while I do agree with the idea of celebrating motherhood and recognizing that, I think that the church needs to be really clear and clean about keeping itself distant from society.
So we should not have July 4th on the church calendar.
Correct.
Oh.
And
heat. I just got hot. Ooh, he's speaking. He's speaking.
I'm sorry. I know that will probably upset a whole lot of people, but I'm not a big fan of celebrating July 4th in church. I am a big fan of celebrating July 4th. Love this country. Love so much about this country. I believe we are the greatest country in the world and have been for a long time. Not that we are flawless, because we certainly have our flaws and we have a lot that we can continue to work on and to improve upon as a people and as a society. However, the foundation of freedom that we're built on, I think, gives us the opportunity to continue to be a light to the world. And religious freedom is a huge piece of that. It is absolutely, we take it for granted, but if you would just read your history books, people, you would understand that whenever the church and the state get together, bad things happen. It's bad for everybody, not just for the religion that's involved. It's bad for all religions, and we can't go there. I'm not waving flags in church. I'm just not. I'll celebrate our country all day long. Thank you, God, for America.
For this country, right.
But we have to maintain that.
Yeah, the separation.
We have to maintain that.
That's very non-Anglican of you.
It's very, very, and I don't even want to look at Facebook right now. I'm probably getting destroyed.
You're getting hammered. You're getting hammered from mothers. Now you're getting hammered from people who love our country.
Apparently, I'm just going to climb on that cross and hammer the nails in myself today. It's going to be that kind of a day. All right.
Well, so you do. Perhaps we could have another segment on church and state and the dangers and. A lot of people say that we are a country founded on religious freedom. And if you go back and you really study, the forefathers did not come here actually for religious freedom. That's what people think, that they came here fleeing and in search of religious freedom. And really they came looking for land and money.
Well, that's usually the case.
Right. So we could probably have a different segment on that, a whole segment on that, and our oldest church fathers were actually deists.
Right.
Right.
Not so much Christians as
Not so
deists,
much Christians. So,
I would argue.
well, and so would a lot of the history books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now that we've put
Mothers.
that out there.
Back to mothers.
Mothers.
Wow.
They're awesome.
Yes.
They
But
smell good.
We shouldn't
usually.
celebrate them in church.
We shouldn't have a feast day.
But we should recognize
dedicated,
them in
but
church.
we should recognize them, absolutely.
Because it's probably the biggest day of celebration in a church. It's when most people come, besides Christmas and Easter. I would say Mother's Day is probably the biggest attendance
That would
day.
be very interesting. We need to.
We always have like throws of people and mamas wearing their flowers to church.
Yeah, we need to check that.
And
data.
here you are saying it shouldn't be a feast day.
We need to check that data. That would be very, very interesting to see. Is Mother's Day the third highest attended day?
I thought we had done that before.
No,
I don't know where I'm
I
getting
haven't-
that information
I
then,
haven't run
except
those figures.
my
No, but I
intuition
hear-
and my eyes.
Right, because you ask Mom, what do you want to do on Mother's Day? And she says,
wants to go to
I want
church.
the whole family to go to church together and sit next to each other in the pew, and everybody's going to look clean and happy,
And
it's all
pretty.
going to be wonderful. And Mom doesn't remember that she spent probably 75% of her time in church, actually in worship. Mom spent her time going, I will, if I have to tell your father, I will get a smack on the back of the head.
I never got a smack on the back of the head, but I would try to fall asleep and I'd get the
Oh, yeah.
shoulder bump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd get the big shoulder bump.
Yeah.
Don't you fall asleep in church.
So why moms want their children in church with them, I don't really understand, quite frankly. I've never.
Well, especially as they get older.
They
it's
behave worse.
It's unity, it's community, it's being there together in the presence of Christ.
Maybe it's only our children that behave worse if they've gotten older.
Well, because they did have a mother who had I had my hands on them when they were young. Like,
Yeah, you had a pretty tight rein on them.
I just kept my
She had a
hands.
pretty tight rein on them when they were little.
I just kept my hands on them.
Because, she was in the pew by herself. Maybe that's part of why I don't understand this, because I've never.
You've never
As an adult,
experienced.
yeah.
Well, that's not true because
Yeah,
there
every
have
now
been
and
times we've gone to worship as a family.
Sure.
It is, we forget because it's so long in between times, but there is something special about the whole family being in the presence of Christ together at church amongst the greater church community
All right,
where we are a family of Christ.
I'll just have to concede that point, because it's so far out of my realm of experience.
Help! Comments.
It's
Comments.
outside my realm of experience. I don't know what to
Help.
say. I would say that, going to church is about God. It's not really about sitting in the pews with your kids, but that's just me.
Well, wait, there's so much to unpack in just what you just said. It is about God, but it's also about praising God as a family. That's why we come to church together as a family body.
Okay.
Not just a nuclear family, but the Christ family, the extended body of Christ. That's why
Yeah.
we come together as a family, and we gather around a table to eat and be fed
And ain't no families without mamas.
and to, what?
There's no families without mamas.
Well, there are families without mamas.
What I meant was it takes a mother to create the next person so that
Oh,
there will
yes.
be a continued family. Physical.
Without Mary, where would we be?
Oh, we're going to go down that road. So first she's a nationalist and now she's a Catholic. All right, so.
Just because I think we should honor Mary?
Oh, my head. All right, so we're going to, all right.
Doesn't Mary have a feast day in the Episcopal Church?
She does. Would anybody care to know when it is? Do you know when it is? I guarantee no Grace Church people know when Mary's Day is, because we don't really do Saints' Days at Grace Church. It's not a big day. for
I know
us.
Julian of Norwich is around this time,
Okay.
which is interesting. It may, I don't know.
Where are we? What month are we in?
We're in May, Mother's Day, May.
When did that happen?
I know.
Oh man, you're good. May 8th.
Whoop, whoop.
May 8th is Julian of Norwich's day, if you're wondering. Mary,
Which was Friday.
Saint Mary the Virgin is August the 15th.
Oh, 2 days before my birthday.
Yeah.
Look at that. 2 days before Mother's Day was Julian of Norwich, one of my favorites. And 2 days before my birthday is Mary.
Dun, dun, dun. So, if you're interested, you can find all this in the prayer book,
Yeah.
It's right there.
Prayer books are handy.
I'm looking at bcponline.org. I think it's the easiest and best online prayer book source. And you can just click on the calendar of the church year and you'll see all this. So, yes, Mary has a feast day.
She is honored in the church because she's a mother of Jesus.
I don't know, man. We start down that route. Next thing you know, we're,
So you said we shouldn't have a feast day for mothers, but we kind of do.
Well,
How very non-Episcopalian of you.
How very non-Episcopalian. I'm not real big into the whole Saints' Days things. It's not a big thing for me. It's never really been a part of my understanding of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. It smacks of Catholicism and the papacy, and I really am not that interested.
So you're a little more reformed than that.
I am a tad more reformed. I'm more on the evangelical end of the spectrum rather than the Catholic end of the spectrum. There is a spectrum in the Episcopal Church.
I think it's pretty broad.
Yeah, Anglo-Catholic on one end.
I think that's actually one of the strengths of the Episcopal Church.
Is that
we have
room. Yeah.
We have room for people to celebrate and believe on a spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
It is. It is.
And so, we would love to see the comments wherever you are on the spectrum of honoring saints or feast days of Mary or celebrating July 4th in the church and Thanksgiving. Where are you on celebrating those feast days? How do you feel about it?
And what's the point of it?
And what's the point?
Why? Why do we do that? I'll tell you that part of what I think is dangerous about it is we get into a whole lot of superstition and a whole lot of silliness that has no grounding in theological thought. And that's dangerous.
Well, we see that when people came over to America, that they wanted to assimilate. The missionaries wanted the Native Americans to become Christians, and so they forced these ideas and these beliefs on them. And what happened was kind of a mixture. And so we see instead of honoring the saints, then we don't honor, we worship.
Yeah.
And that's a totally different thing, honoring versus worshiping.
It's called idolatry, and it's a sin.
And it's a sin, right. Yeah. And so you see kind of this worship and praise of a saint rather than just honoring the saint for the work that they did in the church. Like, sure. I can honor you as my husband, but I'm not going to worship you.
That would be a bad idea.
It would be a really bad idea.
Yeah. So, and I think we hear it in the language too. Well, I'm going to pray to Mary. I'm going to pray to Saint Christopher.
Well, there is a saint that you can bury in your front yard when you want to sell your house. Did you know this? Ask me how I knew this. There's a saint.
Like a living saint that you would take and bury alive?
Well, gosh, I hope not, because that would really inhibit the sale of a house.
It'd be a little creepy.
A little creepy. No. You go, I don't even know where.
Buy a little thing?
You buy a little thing and you bury it in your front yard.
Yeah.
And your house is supposed to sell.
See, that's called superstition.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know.
People have asked me where to buy those. I have no clue. I don't even know which saint it is.
Yeah, Protestants. What do we know? So I will tell you that's the danger of it to me, right? I'm going to pray to this. And the reality is that that's not what the Catholic Church teaches. That's not the official teaching of either the Orthodox or the Catholic Church, that you don't pray to a saint to be like, hey, I'm praying to you instead of God. The idea is that the saint is more like your friend that you would ask to pray for you. And when you think about it that way, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yes.
I mean, who better to ask for help than Jesus' mom?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you want to get Jesus' attention and you're praying to Jesus and you don't feel like there's a connection there and that's not working, and you're like, hey, I need some more prayer help, I'm going to ask Jamie to pray for me, and I'm going to ask my friends and family to pray for me. And who better than to be like, hey, Jesus' mom, would you pray for me too? Would you pray with me to your son?
I think that's really helpful.
That is like, duh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, he can't ignore his mom. You
want to bet?
Oh, bang. Mic drop, children. How you like them apples?
Yeah. I'm speaking as a mother, not as a child in that.
Not that you ever ignored your mother.
Oh, goodness gracious. Mom, I'm so sorry.
Man,
Happy Mother's Day.
Blessings upon you,
sorry.
Grammy, and my mom as well.
I'm however old, and I'm apologizing now. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. You've had to wait that's long suffering right there. That is some long suffering, waiting for that.
Yeah.
So how many years do I have? Let's see. I have like 30 more years to get it. Yeah.
Man, oh man. It's quite a conundrum, this whole parenting, mothering,
Yes, it is.
fathering kind of a thing.
It is not easy.
It is not.
And I think that is not necessarily for the church celebrating, but I think that's why we do celebrate mothers.
Yeah.
This is not easy. The road of motherhood is complex. There's so much to be celebrated in it. All I ever wanted when I was a little girl was to be a mom. When people asked me how many children I wanted 6 children. And it's really all I wanted. I mean, that's not true. I wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to drive a certain car, and I used to have dreams of, for some reason, a marble house with lots of marble in it. I don't know why.
Wait. Oh, you don't mean like marbles?
Not
the
like little
round
marbles.
things.
No, like white marble and a big swimming pool. I just remember this certain dream that I used to have, and I would flit around in a robe with my 6 children. And so sometimes my mother would point out that I wanted a really little bitty 2-seater convertible car, and she would point out that my 6 children were not going to fit in this specific little 2-seater car that I wanted.
Yeah, and she probably tried to point out that marrying a priest was not going to get you a marble house either.
No. She never said anything about that ever. This is when I was little. She was just, reality, Jamie. And it, 6 kids and the 2-seater car. I had no clue. But really what I wanted more than anything, was to be a mom.
Yeah.
It was just always assumed to me. Like, it was just I'm going to be a mom. And I want 6 of them, and I want to extol love upon little people, and I've always loved babies, and I just want to extol love on little people. And so it's my dream come true. It is,
Sure.
it is, and it's not just a dream come true, but it is my vocation. It's my call. It is purpose, and the way I was knit and created was to be a mom. And so
Absolutely.
Today there is much to be celebrated today, but recognizing too that there is also much to lament.
Yeah.
There is much to cry over. There is much to struggle through, and so it's not all celebration.
Not at all.
But in the celebration hand, I think you always have some lament. That true celebration oftentimes requires some lament.
Okay. I would say realistic celebration, practical celebration. That if we're going to really pay attention and be rooted in reality, that celebration contains lament would be your language. Yeah.
That's lament is a big churchy word, isn't it? Lament is lament is expressing your sadness, expressing your regret, expressing anger. Lamenting is just letting it out.
Yeah, we see it in Psalms.
The Psalms
in the book of Psalms, we see a lot of lament.
Yes. They are definitely a vehicle through. Sometimes we don't have the language to express really how we're feeling, and oftentimes we can find a psalm that will help us do that.
Yeah, because not just, Jamie speaks both from the perspective of being a mother, but also from having a mother.
Yes.
And if we think about motherhood from that sense of we all have mothers, then that to me brings everybody into the conversation a little bit more. Because while God created you as a female human being and created you to be a mother, that's part of who God made you to be, I don't think we have to say that all female human beings are created that way.
I think we definitely see that Julian of Norwich was not created to be a mother.
Yeah, and that's okay. That it's part of what we can embrace here is for the women in our country to say, hey, how God made you is how God made you. And it doesn't have to be that God made you just like God made Jamie. In fact, I don't think he probably did.
Well, hopefully he says you're unique.
Fearfully and wonderfully made.
Fearfully and wonderfully made, which means you're unique. There's not another one like you.
You know what I do think would be useful for mothers, especially for new mothers, young mothers, lots of little ones running around. You know what I think would be useful for them?
Sleep.
And if you can't get sleep, get bang. Bang time. You say motherhood, I say creatine. Right here, this will help you wake up and attend to your children.
B12 would help you wake up more than creatine.
B12 would be better. I have no idea actually what creatine is. It just says it right here on this thing. And it has ultra CoQ10. You don't want to miss out on the CoQ10.
That is supposed to keep you young. It's the B12 and there's another ingredient that I read the other day.
Lemon drop, one of my favorite flavors of Bang. So not only do you say worship and I say bang time, I say moms need to get banged up in order to help them deal with all of their snotty children.
Or coffee.
Or I guess coffee would be another
Coffee
option.
works too. Tea.
Bang time.
You're a nut.
Thank you, dear.
I wonder how many people we have discussing.
I wonder how
on the
many people
comments.
we have flaming us online. And
I wonder how
deciding
many
that-
people are behind that camera at all. Do we have
everybody-
anyone?
No,
Anyone?
everybody- I bet our
Anyone?
children are not.
Oh, we made our children watch Ferris Bueller's Day
Ferris
Off.
Bueller's Day Off. Yeah.
Anyone?
Bueller.
Anyone?
Bueller.
And I was laughing, so our children were not laughing
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
No, they were.
I think 80s humor is very
I
different
think they were
than-
confused by the technology.
Well, I kept laughing at the computer and the DOS language of the computer.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were like, I
Right.
didn't think that was funny
Y'all
at
are
all.
old. Y'all are so old.
Yeah. I guess 80s humor is different than 2020.
Yeah. These youngsters.
I almost said 2000.
What do they
I
know?
almost lost 20 years.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Where
Be a
does the
lot
time
younger.
go?
It goes into children.
It does go into children.
Mother.
I'm a mother.
So I've been talking a little smack today about Mother's Day and celebrating motherhood, and what I really do mean is I think 100% what you think about celebrating motherhood. I think that we should honor and recognize mothers for all they have given and all they continue to give and their continual sacrifices, and that sacrifice is at the essential nature of the Christ and what it means to be a follower of Jesus. And in fact, we're going to talk about that today during the sermon.
Are you?
Huh, who knew?
I didn't.
We're going to go down that path. And I also really think that we should 100% recognize Jesus' mom and say thanks, Mary, and that she is somebody that we can look to as an exemplar, somebody that we can, she
said yes.
She said yes to God, and she bore the Christ into the world.
That was, I just want for a minute to
What?
think about having Jesus as your son.
Dude, I'm trying to wrap my
How?
head around the fact that she had eternity in her womb.
Yeah, yes, eternity in her womb. And then that she had a long time to think about, oh man, how am I going to be a mother to eternity, to Christ, to Jesus? Did she know? Yes, she knew.
She is the only person in history who can yell, Jesus Christ,
Jay.
without it being a swear word.
Jay. Well, he wasn't the Christ yet.
Wasn't he?
Well, yes, he was because.
Okay, so we've
Wow.
added 2 future shows to our conversation today.
Was Jesus the Christ before the cross?
Oh, my head.
Oh.
Wow. That's a huge question. Libraries have been written about that question.
Sorry to throw that out there.
Did
here
he
at the,
know?
At the last
Did
minute.
he know
Did
he
he
was
know?
the Christ?
Did he know? When did he know he was the Christ? He knew at some point. But
Jiminy
when did he know
Christmas.
he was the Christ?
What are we going to do here? This has gotten really deep theologically really
You know,
quickly.
I asked that question one time in our story group, in our small group, and somebody just laid out the boom. That's when he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wow, awesome. I wish I could be that sure.
Yeah.
Right? It would be so fun.
It's
The
a
deeper-
bigger,
the
it's
more-
a bigger question than you think it is.
The more you study theology, the more questions you have.
Perhaps we should not study theology and you should just listen to your priest.
No, study, people, study.
Absolutely not.
No,
All
study.
right.
All right.
Hey, you know what? It's time for us to wrap this up. It's about 10:05, which is our go time here. We are so glad to have you with us on the Triple J Morning Show. I hope you had fun. I hope you have some questions that you are looking to get answered, and I hope that you will actually try to find some answers to them.
Yes.
Certainly you can email us, grace@gracechurchsa.org. We'll always get to one of us one way or the other. And if you have some questions, you can post them online on Facebook or shoot us an email. We'd be glad to have a conversation with
Or
you.
you can DM,
Yeah, I don't even know really what that means.
direct message.
Ah,
They can send a
there you
message.
go.
I'm gonna have to show him how to look at for the
Is
messages.
that on Twitter? I don't know. All right, so anyways, thanks for being here. Really glad to have you guys with us. I
Bye,
hope that
guys.
you will check us out on our YouTube channel, Grace Church SA, or follow us on Facebook. And so, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
to everyone who has a mother. God's peace. We are out.